She's passionate, she's fun, and she's inspiring. Let's welcome our host, Kimberly, from Entrepreneurs Rocket Fuel's Web Summit, and a warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us, and we've got an exciting guest coming right up. Kimberly, take it away.
Well, hello, folks. I'm Kimberly Crow, and we are back. This time I have Jan Robberts with us. Welcome to the program, Jan.
Yes, Kimberly, it's amazing to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for carving time out of your day to be with us. What time is it where you are?
It is just after 7 o'clock at night in sunny South Africa.
South Africa, I love it. Well, thanks for being here in the middle of the night, not really the middle, but at your dinner time. I appreciate you. Probably should have gotten you in earlier on the schedule, but I'm super glad that you're here now. So we're going to talk about becoming an ice maker instead of an icebreaker. I read this a couple of different times and I was like, I cannot wait for this talk. I don't know what we're in for, but it's going to be fun if Jan's doing it. So tell us a little bit about how you became an expert in becoming an ice maker.
Well, that's a great question. And yes, for me, personal development and martial arts, which is also important in this part because it's key Aikido, which is all about mind power. I started out when I was 17 years old, so that's a history lesson already. And I very shortly after that stopped buying newspapers as well, and I started reading a lot. Now, I spent 30 years in the oil industry as well, and most of my luggage used to be books, personal development, leadership books, success stories, because I was always investing in me. And when I was home, I used to go to courses, to seminars, and try to implement some of what I learned. And I also worked with people from many diverse cultures. I joined the Maxwell leadership team in 2012. Les Brown, I joined him as well as a Les Brown Platinum speaker, and then also became a values-based leadership specialist. And now also I call myself a self-care encourager. So all that fits in very well with helping people to become better and live better lives.
Okay, so I see all these different pieces, but what's ice? Why ice maker? Why do we have to be an ice maker?
See, well, ice, some people will think that the ice maker and they see the icebreaker. Now, the icebreakers are different things. Icebreakers could be things like facilitated programs where people get to know each other at the beginning of a training. And then you've got other icebreakers that are these purpose-built ships that plow over the top of ice and break 9-foot thick ice to create a path for other ships to follow them. However, that's icebreakers, and it's not those kind of ice things and not the stuff you put in your drink either. Ice, the ice maker, it's 3 simple letters: intentionality, compassion, and evolution. And that's the 3 things I'm going to be talking into. And that's where I try to throw people off a little bit. So when they're going to be ice makers, they're not going to be selling it at the street corners anytime soon.
That's great. I was actually thinking like an icebreaker would be like when you first get into a meeting, you break the ice by having like some way for everybody to get connected and network and feel comfortable. So I thought that was what we were going to talk about when we were talking about break the ice, but you were talking about like crush through the icebergs and be able to make a path for other people. I love that imagery. And ice maker is what we're going to be, which is actually an acronym for intentional, compassionate, and evolutionary. Did I get all that right?
Absolutely already, yes. Wonderful, yes. Thank you.
All right, great. So I got my listening ears on. I hope you all have your listening ears on too. Okay, great. So let's get into it. What do you mean by intentional?
Okay, now there's 3 parts to it. And the great thing by these icebreakers, like the one you mentioned as well, all these have got a purpose. But most of them, when you think of them, they don't last. Even the path that an icebreaker creates for other ships to follow, within a short period of time, they close again. So all these kind of things don't last. So we need to start really looking into something that sustains itself, because leadership is failing around the world just now. I've got a power statement that says that I personally believe in a world where people are inspired to use their voice and lead rather than suffer in silence and follow. And that really fits in there well, because with leadership failing badly, on a global scale, may I add, become an intentional, compassionate, evolutionary leader will certainly never be easy, but it's possible, and it's really so necessary. Now, I don't want people to switch off here and say, "Oh, leadership, that's not for me, that's for them." No, well, I think you're sadly mistaken, because I'm going to talk into here that we are all leaders, and as leaders, how we can help go and become the leader you really should be and you really want to be. Now, I don't know what level you will be at, but leadership starts with personal leadership, and personal leadership starts with personal development. So it affects us all. And to become the leader you are meant to be through the power of, intentionality, the caring building of relationships, and the need to constantly evolve and stay relevant, not only relevant to the outside world, but relevant to yourself and to all the people about you first and foremost. And that's going to be really important, because now people are always talking about the problems with leadership. And now I'm talking about I.C.E and the different parts of the leadership puzzle, really. And it's a whole module. But when we start asking ourselves questions about why is leadership failing? What are some of the challenges? Why don't we see many more quality leaders rising up at this time? And do we even know what real leadership looks like? Yes, we can keep talking about amazing leaders from the past, but it's no longer enough. So if you're like me, and if you are, put a 1 in the chat box, please, because have you ever wondered why people keep following bad leaders? It surprises me. I
got you. I know what you're saying.
You got it. Yeah. So let me ask you then, before we go into the three letters, what would encourage you to follow someone? Would you just follow somebody because somebody's leading? Or is it maybe, hopefully, a little bit more? Is it maybe kindness, compassion, listening, and other values they practice, such as transparency, integrity, respect? Maybe they're great communicators. Maybe they're making the right decisions. And maybe they're standing up for some of the many injustices around the world. Now, if you have any ideas about that, I would like to see that in the box as well, because I'm always ready to learn as well. But those and many of the other urgent issues need to be addressed, not just by going through the motions, but by a much more serious approach, which will give sustainable and long-lasting solutions to each and every person, and that includes you, who will start to act upon what they learn. And now, for that to happen, of course, it takes people to stand up and to become better leaders, not only anywhere else, but starting at home, in the communities, at work, basically everywhere, to become a more powerful and developed leader at all kind of levels. And that's why the I.C.E model comes into play. So the first one, as you just said, Kimberly, it starts with an I, and that is we already know that the intentional leadership. Now, intentional leadership is something that will actually allow you to grow the skills and tools to develop yourself as well as the people around you, so you can empower and encourage the entire teams. But by fully engaging and becoming more aware, by gaining better soft skills and taking action every single day, you will become a more effective leader, first of self and then of others. Because, as they say, you can't give what you haven't got. And that takes intentionality. Now, so you might say, what is intentionality really? Because first of all, let me clarify something here, because I'm sure we all have had some good intentions. And if you've had good intentions, put yes in the comments box, by the way, in the chat box. Now, I cannot speak for all of you, but the thing is, the things I would have done, the things I could have done, and the things I should have done so far in my life. And I sometimes think, wow, there are so many things. Now, if you've been there, you can also put a 1 in the chat for that as well, because we haven't all done these kind of things. And let me give you a very simple example. And for me, as I said already, I became an active student of personal development and leadership and martial arts as well, which I all do to this day, when I was 17. I told you I was going to give you a history lesson for a while, but I also stopped buying newspapers and started to read and study many books, one after the other. Now, I'm not sure whether you have read some of these books with exercises in it, but I certainly have. And I told myself, I said, I want to read on because I'm so hungry. I wanted to soak up all the knowledge. So I'm going to do these exercises at the end. And I shut the book, I put it on the shelf, and I call that shelf development instead of self-development, because it never happened. Yes, I had great intentions, but I just didn't follow through. And I don't know how much that has cost me. And it might have cost you as well, as I'm talking to you just now, because I know from experience. But I do follow through more now. And even when I create courses, I insist on people answering the question and doing the exercises before they go to the next video or to the next part for their own good. See, I'm definitely more intentional now. But it's a very simple story, but I'm sure you get the point. See, people with good intentions do something good occasionally, but people who live intentionally do something good continually. Now,
okay, no, we need to capture that one, because there's so much gold here, and you just got a marriage proposal in the chat because everybody loves your energy. It's fantastic, and we're loving what we've got here. But you said people with good intentions do good things occasionally. People who intentionally do good continuously. Is that right? Oh, I just lost you. I can't hear you. Okay, we can hear you. Yeah, it was out for just a second. We don't want to lose you. You're doing great.
Yeah, now I'll give you straight away, I'll give you a quote by a guy called Robberts. You might have heard of him now. And it says, intentional living is the present you give yourself. Now think about that.
Intentional living is the present you give yourself. Let's put that in the chat box. It's amazing. And it's a quote by a good friend of mine, Robberts. Okay, so
I've heard him too, not Denzel Washington. But what this will actually do is that you will grow yourself by reflecting on all you do, as I said, every single day. That's what intentionality is about. It's not a someday thing, not a maybe thing, not maybe a tomorrow thing, but every day. And contrary to popular belief, though, knowledge is not power. I might have disappointed a few people right now, but
words don't teach. Totally true.
Yeah, knowledge acted upon is powerful, and when you evaluate that action every day, it's even more powerful. And I would advise you here, and these things are in the freebie as well. There is 4 questions you should ask yourself at the end of every day. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What should I improve on? And what should I definitely never do again? Now, this will allow you to move into tomorrow much better prepared. See, there's another thing there. You should never go down to other people's levels unless you go there to lift them up. However, if you are not intentionally developing yourself every day, what are you lifting them up to? And this is something my wife always says as well. And I heard from a rabbi one time who said, if you don't do anything with today, what do you need tomorrow for? Now, strangely enough, I said that to Miss Fish. I had a chat with her not so long ago, and I didn't know that she was a rabbi's daughter, so that was quite funny.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
it's totally true.
An intentional leader listens. They build relationships and invest in their people. It is important to discover your why, but as a great leader, it is much more important to discover the why of your people. See, why do they need self-care? Why do they need personal development? What do they need? And what is the disconnect, and what are some of the solutions that you can help them with? Because leadership is all about people, if you haven't figured it out by now. And as a leader, you definitely need to know yourself, but also get to know and better understand your people. See, you get to understand their personalities, their learning styles, their habits, and their goals, both the personal and their business goals. Now, this will all work whether you have an official leadership role, as many of you might say, well, it's not for me, whether you lead in your community or whether you simply lead yourself in your daily life. That's all I can say just now while I got time about the I. So we come to the next part. Secondly, the C, compassion.
All right.
Now, that's also, yeah, are we ready for it? Okay,
yes.
Here we go. I have to stand up for this stuff, and I should be tied to a wall, otherwise I run away. But I'm excited about this to be here. But respect for self and others is most important when we deal with the human beings on a daily basis, and we all do. unless you live on your own in a cabin in the woods. But although that's fairly simple, it is hardly ever taught or totally misunderstood. See, compassionate leadership, you can take all these parts separately or together, but compassionate leadership will give you insights, creates an awareness, and provides you with much more of a humane approach to the people you interact with and often depend upon. Now, the value of compassion, written by my good wife, who's also commenting in the box, no doubt, somewhere, and which started the transformation of the country of Lebanon 2 years ago, and some of the Lebanese people are here as well. It talks into this. Now, the title of that value should give it away, and at the moment she's also writing the Compassionate Leader of Influence book, which is no doubt going to be a bestseller. But when you learn to listen without judgment, become more aware of the different cultures, ages, genders, religions, even political affiliations, this will give you amazing insights and understandings as we now live in a global village which is getting smaller all the time. And as the late Stephen Covey once says, it's about time that we try to understand before being understood, especially during these days. Because as a compassionate leader, humility is the gift that keeps on giving. See, it allows for compassion, for understanding, for a more meaningful conversations. See, you can look at the gift and talents of other people through your heart and soul rather than just through your head. See, you will be able to become much more of an encourager and empower them. See, you become more team focused and also create more cohesive teams. You will build a team of accountable, responsible individuals. You will be guiding your team with inclusive leadership, and that's very important. And your inclusivity, caring, and better understanding of results will actually result in sustainable development for the entire organization, which is very important. See, compassion is inclusive, and a compassionate leader never changes who they are, but they always adjust to the people around them. They are very adaptable and provide their people with what they need to grow, and that is very important. And okay, we're not very far off the third one, but so let me ask you another question here. How many training sessions and courses have you ever been on with your friends and your colleagues over the last few years, and how much information that have been landed in your lap, or that you've written down or tried to remember or put it on your phone, whatever, has been implemented in part of your successful growth, and has even resulted in you becoming a better individual. Now, I'm asking this because I recently actually read an article in a leadership journal where it mentioned that organizations are frustrated as more than 70% of the trainings they and their people send on are totally ineffective. More than 70%. You know, what's the problem? Haven't we all walked away from amazing trainings, conferences, and summits where we're going to change the world? Now, again, put one in the chat if you've been there. Have you been to Tony Robbins and you have to pluck yourself off the ceiling because you were going to do all that? But we did not even change our world, never mind the world. How much more compassionate have we become? Now, hold on, disclaimer, I'm sure that will not happen on this summit, because one of the things that Kimberly will talk about later on as well is, first of all, she gathered a group of amazing people in their back room as well. We need to applaud them too, as well as the speakers. And she's going to talk, before we finish, she's going to talk into the VIP gift. The VIP that you can sign up to, and it's very worthwhile doing it because you want to keep hold of these resources for the rest of your life, and that opportunity you will get if you haven't done that yet. So there's a plug for the VIP.
The VIP,
sign up for it.
Thank you.
Sign up. Yeah. So then we come to, if you've had the I and the C, you now know I.C.E is spelled with 3 letters, and the third one is an E. Evolutionary leadership. Now, if you didn't hold on to your seat yet, there is something else coming, because it will teach you many skills in the most innovative and interactive way, and it will provide you with a platform of sustainability which continues to develop you and your people long after the initial excitement, euphoria, and understanding has kind of worn off. You know, that Monday feeling we get. But if you haven't figured out the need to evolve yet, or think you don't need it, do some research and look in some of the big companies that didn't think they needed either. I mean, there was companies like Polaroid, Toys R Us, Kodak, Panam, Tower Records, and General Motors, just to mention a few. Now, these companies, they didn't roll with the dice in the right direction. Bad leadership, mismanagement, indifference, lack of vision and innovation. Some or all these kind of things have been part of the problems that major organizations have now totally disappeared. So, however, to evolve, we sometimes need to take a kind of step back into simplicity and find where we are at. And the same for those around us. See, let's face it, if you already have challenges now and cannot manage them, that's where you need to start before ever implementing anything else, or look for the next shiny subject or object, because your people are key, but way too often they are treated like robots and are only useful as long as they work to increase the bottom line of an organization. See, leaders who still manage have not yet evolved in that position, and will need to work on their mindset to move from fixed to growth mindset. And for an example like that is, go from can I to how can I? It's a different way of thinking. Now, I've got an area here, and I need to kind of quickly look to make sure that I stay relevant.
We're out of time. So I want to make sure that we have time for your gift. So here's what we're going to do to make it super easy. If you want whatever Jan has, just put Jan Rocks in the chat box, and we will email you his gift, which is the 10 steps to becoming an ice maker. So put Jan Rocks, JANROCKS, in the chat box, and we will personally email you his gift. All right, keep going. You're doing great.
Okay, we'll go for it. See, I've been in the cradle of humankind, which is really where it all began, here near Johannesburg in South Africa, where we began. But walking around there from those early living humans to where we are now, it looked beautiful and impressive, from people hunting for food, creating fire, and moving around for basic survival, to where we are right now. Putting people into space, spending billions on technology with a race to which company will discover the next gadget, the energy source, or the self-driving vehicle. While people are dying from starvation by the millions, people are suffering from dying from diseases that most of them are curable today, and millions more are driven into extreme poverty for one reason or another. And don't even get me started on that, because that's going to take a lot longer than another half an hour. But increased suicide rates, wars, companies failing with larger scales than ever before, families splitting up because they cannot even agree and are full of righteousness, a young generation that is totally lost their direction and psychologically damaged by the fear, anxiety, and depression. People, how the blazing saddles are we talking about an evolved human being? I told you I'd get going, but I think you kind of get the point of that. And see, that's why we need to take a few steps back and start to look at life through the lens of our real needs as humans. We need to take some time to really think, an activity that most people won't take part on, because, as George Bernard Shaw once said, 2% of people think they think, 2% of people think, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. Yes, we have to become more intentional. Yes, we must become more compassionate. And yes, we need to evolve and move forward. But that also requires us to take better care of ourselves. As self-care isn't selfish, it's a necessity, and it doesn't happen by chance. That also happens by choice, by the way. So how will we ever be able to help our fellow human being if we are ill or die? People, I need to wind it down now. I know that. We also need to
We're going to just wind it down. So up next, we have Leslie Evans, who is going to be talking about the power of your presence. We hope you join for that. It's at the bottom of the hour. But I am going to have Jan give one last word. Everybody thinks you're phenomenal. We can't wait to have you back and have more. Next time we're going to have to give you a full hour, because you're in. Not only is your intensity so powerful, it's changing worlds. It is really, really pragmatic for the people that are listening to actually apply in their lives. And I love it. So thank you very, very much for carving time out of your day. We will definitely have you back. You're amazing. Before we let you go, any final words for our crew? And you can just go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you need to become a leader you are meant to be. Start selling some hope and become an ice maker, because you have a story. You have a voice. And this is your time. Thank you.
Beautifully said. Cheryl says, he's turned my frown upside down. I'm smiling and laughing for the last 10 minutes. Absolutely love this. It was wonderful, wonderful having you here. Thanks for your energy and your style and your smile and all of the ice that you have brought to us today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you at the bottom of the hour. I'm Kimberly Crow. Cheers. That was awesome. Amazing, Jan. Incredible.
That was an amazing expert.
Save the
We're
chat.
here with Kimberly, who is the rocket fuel for entrepreneurs.
Be sure you or Ozzy saves the chat.
New heights. Nobody lives
Save
out
the chat. You got a lot of love.
Better, Kimberly.
Okay. But thank you for the privilege.
My pleasure. Cheers.